Welcome into Spotlight on Kansas City Sports. We've been really Chiefs heavy the last couple of weeks, and I wanted to take a close-up look at our two professional football teams besides the Chiefs, Sporting Kansas City and the Kansas City Current. Both of them making roster additions this week, both back out on the pitch. The Current after an extensive amount of time off, except for a little exhibition tournament against a couple of Brazilian sides in Chicago, and Sporting getting a bye week, a much needed bye week before they go to the second of two legs of really hard matchups, Vancouver and now San Diego coming in to Sporting Kansas City's home at Children's Mercy Park. Jimmy Mack joining us from the KC Sports Network and No Other Pod. And Jimmy, you're one of my go-to sources for in-depth soccer analysis, and anybody watching here, you can see Spotlight on KC Sports every week on Sports TV Plus, on 30 different streaming apps, True TV Plus on every smart TV. Just download the app. You get it 24 hours, 7 days a week for free, along with 70 other channels. And Jimmy, of course, I know you can find you on the KC Sports Network and wherever you get your podcast.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Just search KC Sports Network, and we're also on YouTube. If you want to see us in video format, we're on there as well.
With all the nice scarves and everything, you got the
all my
soccer
scarves,
motif going. Mine's mixed. I have the monitor, so I kind of have a little bit to go with all the wrestling gear. See the current scarf in the background. But
I got a lot. Yeah, I try to get a scarf at every stadium I go to. It's kind of a collector thing.
No, that's a great collector if you're into the beautiful game, because everybody has them. I have a couple of Fulham scarves from my trip to AEW All In last year in London.
There you go. Visited
and
Craven
planning
Cottage
next year as well. But hey, I wanted to ask, because we've been, and we'll get into the roster pickup. We've been at multiple sporting matches now under the Carries Vagnon era, and they've been better, obviously, than the start of the season under Peter, where they were 0-7-1. But they have a disjointed look, because the running theme has been they start slow, they fall behind, and then second half subs, all offensive, and man, okay, we got to go. Why do you think they're doing that? Because it honestly, it just seems counterproductive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's by design. We actually joked. We had Carries Vagnon on our podcast. At this point, it's probably close to a month ago, and we were talking about things, and we brought up to him this sort of unintended trend, if you will, of starting kind of slow and then trying to play catch up in the second half. And my co-host Dan jokingly asked Carrie, he goes, "Have you ever considered scoring earlier in the game?" And Carrie laughed and was like, "We'll take it under advisement." But it's something that is difficult. And, you know, the Vancouver, granted, is the number one team in the West in terms of points per game, number two in the standings in terms of total points. But if you look at points per game, they're just slightly ahead in first place. And they're a very good team. And so we knew that this was going to be a challenging game. Part of the issue with this game in particular for Sporting Kansas City is the midfield is just, you know, and I feel like I'm a broken record from the last 2, 3, 4 seasons, but the midfield was not healthy and was not where it needed to be. The designated player, number 10, Manu Garcia, not available. Eric Tommy, who's largely been playing on the wing but could step into the number 10 spot if needed, not available. Jake Davis was available but was sitting on the bench because he had to be available as a possible right back because Kyrie Shelton wasn't available. So that left a midfield of Nemanja Radia, Zoran Basong, and young Jacob Bartlett. That's not exactly an attacking-minded midfield. And it was very apparent, even though Vancouver had just transferred their best midfielder, Pedro Vite, out, it was very apparent that Sporting could not control the midfield. And if you can't control the midfield, it doesn't really matter what your front line looks like. Dejan Jovic, he's only going to be as good as the amount of times you can get him the ball. Daniel Shalawi and Shapi Suleimanov, they just weren't getting the consistent ball service from the midfield that they needed. And ultimately, that's what plagued this team. And in terms of the whole season, the defense hasn't been up to par. There have been bright spots. Jansen Miller is a bright spot who shows flashes of what he could be going forward. But we know what this defense is. It's a feature, not a bug. And I think that's why they're looking at trying to address in small ways the defense even now with the limited options that they have.
So Sporting Kansas City signing Alan Montez, is that a small way, or is he someone that could potentially be an answer? 24-year-old center back coming from Liga MX.
Yeah, I think this is a low-risk, high-reward move, just as the same way that Santi Munoz has come in as a loan with the option to buy at the end of the year. I would say this is a low-risk, high-reward option for Sporting Kansas City because Alan Montez, he's still young, only 24 years old. He has some experience. He has 119 club appearances, although, excuse me, he hasn't been getting many minutes in the most recent matches in Mexico. But, for Necaxa, he's had a number of appearances for them and previously with Monterrey. His older brother was with Monterrey for many years. He's now in Russia. He plays for he played for Mexico in the World Cup. But the most interesting thing about this move to me is Sporting Kansas City, as of now, at least publicly, we don't know who the coach is going to be in 2026. We don't know who the sporting director is going to be in 2026.
Both are being searched for.
Mike Burns, as the sporting director currently, and Kerry Zavagnin as the interim coach, may or may not be involved in this club next year. And so what is smart to me about how ownership is going about business right now is these loan to buy options gives Sporting Kansas City as an organization the opportunity to evaluate players like Santi or Alan Montez and see, okay, is there something there? Could they possibly fit into a longer term plan with whoever the full-time coach ends up being and whoever the long-term sporting director is, whether that's Mike Burns or not? It gives them options. What's working against Alan Montez is there's 10 games left in the season. Typically it takes some time to integrate into the lineup. But as Kerry Zavagnin said after the Vancouver game, he was talking about how dropping Jacob Bartlett back into the back line was a high risk, high reward way to start games. But he goes, at this point, it's something to think about moving forward, which is telling me he knows what they've been doing isn't good enough. So you got to try something different. So if you know what the defense is and it's not good enough, trial by fire for Alan Montez. Throw him in there with Jansen Miller. It's not going to be worse than what you have now. What's the worst case scenario? You miss the playoffs. You're already outside. So throw him in there and see what happens.
Well, and you're looking at having to defend the home pitch against the best team in the West. You drop this game and add to it not being able to convert 3 points against NYFC, who was road weary on the second of a road trip. And, you just eked out the late goal to get the draw. So that's not the decision you wanted to get. I mean, I understand Kerry standing up for the guys and being proud that they kept fighting, which they did. But that's a game you really needed to get the 3 points. And we both had a chance to talk to Daniel Shallowy after the game. And he talked about the importance of collecting those wins if you're going to get there, because they have to go substantially above 500 these last few games. And now with that drop to Vancouver, I mean, they really, to get in, they probably need to go 7-3.
Yeah. It's very, very interesting, the position that Sporting Kansas City is in right now, because they are quite simply, they have no room for error. Like you said, 7-3. Like if you look at, that gets them 21 points. So if you look at MLS standings right now, they are sitting in, I want to say 13th currently in the Western Conference. So if they got 21 more points, that would put them at 45 on the season. Last year, I believe the cutoff line for the 9th place spot was 47 points. So even if you go 7-3 and you get 21 more points, razor thin margin. So that's why.
Yeah. And then, you obviously need the teams that are ahead of you to drop games too. So similar position to the Royals, less games, where the Royals are only 3.5 games out, but they also have to pass 3 teams. So when you get hot, they need to get cold.
Yeah.
So keeping that in perspective, is it time to say, okay, man, there's nothing guaranteed. Let's put our best team of young guys forward and see what we can do, because I don't know about you, but I've seen enough of Andrew Brody at right back.
Yeah, Brody. I mean, Brody's not the answer. Brody was only signed because they needed a body. They needed depth. I don't think he was ever expected to be the long-term solution. I mean, Kyrie Shelton, quite frankly, can't be the long-term solution at right back either. The problem is, I don't think Jake Davis is the long-term solution at right back. I don't think this team has the long-term solution at right back on the roster currently. I don't think we have. We might have a long-term solution in Logan and Denbay at left back, but that's sort of TBD. I don't think Leibold is a long-term solution. And we think maybe we have one of the two long-term pieces at center back in Jansen Miller. We're not 100% sure yet, but he's shown flashes of what could be. So I'm with you. There's 10 games left in the season. Throw spaghetti at the wall. What you've been doing hasn't been good enough to get you where you need to go. If you're Kerry Zavagnin, you have 10 games to try to do something drastic to prove that you should be the long-term coach of this team. And at this point, don't keep doing what hasn't been working. Try something different. Worst case scenario, you're not going to get the job. But if you keep going as it is right now, you're not going to get the job anyway, is my take.
Yeah. So. And talking roster construction, this hasn't gotten as much coverage, but does Mike Burns come back?
Yeah, I mean, that's really hard to know. I haven't heard any leaks or anything in terms of what they're thinking for sporting director. Now, when they hired Mike Burns' position is so fascinating to me, because when he was hired, he reported to Peter Vermees. Mm-hmm. Even though Peter Vermees was the manager, he was also the chief soccer officer. We haven't really gotten a straight, clear answer as to what is happening with that chief soccer officer position. Are they going to fill it, or is the sporting director, whoever that is, going to be that role as well? So really, they need to have, and I'm sure they have been having, some serious conversations with Mike Burns about, do we as ownership feel like he can be the guy to guide this team going forward? Now, and again, I'm not sitting here saying he's not going to be the guy, but it is interesting that all of the acquisitions they are making have an out after this year, because that tells me that at least as of now, they're still keeping their options open, both in terms of coach and sporting director. So I don't think that it's a guarantee by any means that Mike Burns is the sporting director in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, are there signings that you really have been impressed with that you say, hey, man, this makes sense? I mean, the Dejan trade, Decky, as he likes to be known, I think that's a no-brainer. That was a great move.
That was a super shrewd move. I think Manu and Shapi, as two acquisitions coming over in the offseason from Greece, I think it's too early to definitively say success or not, but I think the early returns are leaning in the positive direction. I mean, they have things they need to work on again as well, but like I mentioned at the top of the show, it's hard when the midfield's not there and Manu can only do so much on his own. So I think they both seem very talented, and Peter Vermees was very emphatic in saying that those two would not be here without the work that Mike Burns did physically going overseas and sealing those deals. So having a guy who's willing to do that, I think, is valuable. Sporting needs to build up its scouting network. It needs to put more money and invest in that. And if Mike Burns can strategically lead that, then I'm open to the idea. But there needs to be a philosophical overhaul on how Sporting Kansas City as an organization is run.
Yeah, and now going to talking about a philosophical overhaul, because this is coming to MLS in general, and we're seeing it more and more now. Today, LAFC signed Tottenham Hotspur star Son Heung-min to the biggest transfer in league history, $26.5 million, 20 million pounds sterling to Tottenham to get their Korean superstar to come and play in the city in America with the biggest Korean population, just coincidentally. But they are throwing the money out. That's something we haven't seen Sporting do. I mean, I think the Dejan acquisition is probably the biggest transfer fee Sporting ever paid, maybe Polito.
Alan Pulido is the most expensive, but Dayon would be number two. There's no question about it. And yeah, I mean, teams like LAFC, teams like Atlanta, teams like Seattle, quite frankly, are playing in a different financial arena than Sporting has ever been willing to play in. Now, ownership says they're willing to spend for the right person. And I'm not saying that Sporting needs to go out right now and spend $25 million in a player, especially a player as good as Son is. I mean, he is synonymous with Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, it was him and Harry Kane for the past, near decade that have been that club. And now Harry Kane's gone and Son is coming to LA. He was playing with Tottenham in a preseason game mere days ago. And now he's landed in LAFC or in LA to play with LAFC, but he's also 33 years old. He's a superstar, but he's not young. That's never going to be the arena that Sporting Kansas City plays in.
A marketing move.
Right. What they could do, though, because if you are looking at teams where you're saying, okay, we're not ever going to be Atlanta, we're not going to be LAFC, we're not going to be Miami, but you know who they could be? They could be Cincinnati. They could be Nashville. They could be Columbus. These are other mid-market, Midwestern-ish teams that aren't the big flashy cities. Maybe Nashville is more name recognition, but they have found ways to build. Right. They have found ways to build very competitive, talented, deep rosters without spending $27 million on a global superstar. So that's the model that Sporting Kansas City should look like. And a team like Cincinnati has gone from wooden spoon contenders to one of the top teams in the league in a handful of years. So it's possible. You just have to be smart about it.
Well, speaking of smart acquisitions, let's go to the other side of the state line. On the riverfront, CPKC Stadium, they had a press conference welcoming in their newest acquisition. Here is KC current general manager Caitlin Carducci talking about the acquisition and introducing her.
Thank you all for being here. It is a wonderful, well, it's always a good day to be a member of the Kansas City Current, but it is a very special day for us as we officially welcome our newest player, Allie Sentnor. More than anything, there were a lot of people involved in this process, but really we have to give the most credit to Chris and Angie Long for their support of this club. They're constantly raising the bar for women's football across the globe as we sit in this wonderful building, and their continued dedication to making sure that this is the best women's football club in the world is always appreciated by all of us. And with that being said, bringing Allie to KC is a wonderful move from us from a roster standpoint, but more than anything, we are bringing a dynamic personality, a player, and someone who will help us continue to build a championship caliber team, both through her play on the field and her presence in the community. So really win-win for everyone there, and this is a big one for us. Like, we're excited. Can't even put words to it. There were a lot of people involved in this. Obviously, I want to thank Vlaco and our technical staff who spent many hours working through this and how Allie would fit into our team, our operations team who worked tirelessly to make sure that Allie's transition here to Kansas City is as seamless as possible. And the most important person I want to thank is Allie for believing in us and wanting to be in Kansas City. And with that, welcome to KC, Allie.
Thank you.
I mean, that's a big difference. Now we're on like the polar opposite. Allie Sentnor is the reigning, defending, undisputed U.S. Youth Player of the Year. She was the 24 U.S. Women's Youth Player of the Year. Best friends with now U.S. National Team fixture Claire Hutton.
Yep.
And she comes with the biggest transfer fee in NWSL history. The Current pick her up for cash, potentially up to $700,000.
Yeah.
How do you explain the dichotomy? Vanessa DiBernardo, congratulations, going to go on a maternity leave, welcoming first baby. That's terrific. So Current loses a key contributor, and they go and buy a prominent member of the U.S. women's national team to now step right in. And the fact that she's already been playing with Claire, with Michelle Cooper, and seems like a natural acquisition. I mean, what can you say? I mean, that's a move to win the league, period.
For sure. And, for a team that is as exciting and attacking minded as the Kansas City Current is, making a $700,000 move, $300,000 or whatever it is, $700,000 move.
Yeah, 600 guaranteed. It could go to 750, I think.
Yeah, and to put that in perspective, because we were just talking about Sun transferring to LAFC for $27 million. The most expensive women's transfer in the world is, I think, $1.3 million. Yeah. So we're talking different levels of spending in women's football and men's football currently. One of the biggest transfers of recent history was Naomi Girma going from San Diego to Chelsea for $1.1 million. So the fact that this could get up to $750,000 is a lot of money. This is not if you were to hear that in MLS terms, you'd be like, oh, that's not huge. This is a huge move that the Current are making. And this is a statement move that the Longs are making as an ownership group. As you mentioned, best friends with Claire Hutton. Claire was there at the airport to greet her with a welcome home sign. It was very, very cool to see. What is so interesting to me is this not only potentially shores up the depth of the Current this year as they hunt for that trophy, as you mentioned, with Vanessa DiBernardo out on maternity leave, but what makes this so interesting to me is there are some players that have not been re-signed to new contracts for upcoming years, namely Bia Zanerato, who is in her early 30s, who, as far as I'm aware, I checked right before this, so correct me if I'm wrong, but she has not. Her option year was this last season. She's out of contract after the end of this year. There has been no contract announcement by the Current yet regarding Bia Zanerato. There have been some contracts announced for other players like Michelle Cooper. So what's going to be interesting to me, and Sharples, exactly. So what's going to be interesting to me is how does Ali Sentnor integrate into the lineup for the remainder of the NWSL season and the playoff push? And is this the potential long-term replacement for Bia, who may end up going back to Brazil after this year? That's something for me to watch.
Sure, because Ali can't play forward or mid, and you go from talking about Sporting having a dearth of midfielders to the Current having a overflowing
surplus
amount of midfielders and attackers. Yeah,
for sure.
What's their best lineup now?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think one of the things about the Current that is so fascinating to me is they have so many different options in how they line up. If you look, even as you're mentioning in the midfield, you can have Lola Bonds in there. I mean, I would have said I like Vanessa DiBernardo in there, but obviously she's not going to be there now. Dabinia, Michelle Cooper can play on the wing, but she can drop into the midfield if she's needed. I'm very, very curious to see what this lineup may look like with Sentnor playing next to somebody like Temwa Chwenga. Temwa, obviously, the leading or reigning Golden Boot winner in the NWSL, but I think Sentnor has all of the talent in the world. Bia obviously was starting in the most recent game against Louisville, but it'll be interesting to see how Ali Sentnor gets there. I still think, Michelle Cooper, Bia Zanerato, Temwa Chwenga, that's your best front three. Lowe, Claire Hutton, and Dabinia in the midfield. That's your best midfield. The back line of Ball, Sharples, Mace, you can't really go wrong. So I think it's arguably the deepest and strongest team that NWSL has ever seen.
Yeah, and they get one kind of, I guess you could say, an integration match, a game to kind of get on that one game. You get a new acquisition on the same page necessarily, but they get an away game, ironically, against Utah, where she just came from. Formerly the KC women's team that franchise moved out to
FC Kansas City, yeah.
And then it's the showdown. I won't be able to attend it because I'm attending the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony at the Plaza Hotel in Las Vegas with Cauliflower Alley Club.
Wow.
But the Current taking on the Orlando Pride. That's the matchup of the two teams that pretty much going into the year, everyone said, okay, it's going to be one of these two. How ready are the Current for this game? Because it really feels like the Chiefs going up against the Buffalo Bills. I mean, this is the game that you built up to all year.
Yeah, this feels like a preview of the inevitable NWSL championship match. And this is huge. And how ready are they? They are super ready. I mean, this is the marquee match that has been the matchup to watch for the last couple of years. What's so different is last year, up until about this point in the season, the Current and the Pride were kind of trading back and forth, first, second, and the Pride were able to separate a little bit going into the final stretch of the season last year. Totally different script this year. As things stand right now, through 14 matches played, the Current are 10 points ahead of the second place Pride in the NWSL standings. This is a different Current team. And I'm not saying that Marta and Barbara Banda aren't very dangerous players for the Orlando Pride. Yeah. They are. If any team can come to CPKC and get a result or get a win, it's the Orlando Pride. But this is not even the Kansas City Current of last year. This is a different beast. And I think the Current know what happened last year with Orlando in their series of meetings, and they want to make a statement.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think so. They've been very focused. Not talking outright about playing Orlando, but very mission focused. When you get a chance to talk to the players, they're on the same page. You don't hear, and obviously the record helps, right? Because they're moving forward. They feel bought in 100%. You don't hear the kind of, I don't know what you want to say, hesitancy, confusion that you get sometimes from the sporting. That's probably a little bit harsh, but the sporting players to the man they're great guys to talk to, but
for sure,
it's kind of hesitant. I mean, you can hear some frustration.
Daniel Shallowy openly said, no, not at all. Daniel Shallowy openly said a couple of games ago in the post-game press conference that we're lacking quality in parts of the field to be where we need to be. And
point blank,
that's not something that the Current are dealing with right now. They are flying high. They are a tight-knit group of people. I mean, I think you can tell, I mean, even Rocky Rodriguez, when she was asked earlier in the season, what's it like after having, the career she's had in the league, coming to a new team, she was like, I'm immediately added to the group chat. This feels like a family. I'm immediately welcomed. Like, this is unlike any team that I've been a part of. And it's not, it's not going to last forever. It's like the old line from The Office. I wish you could know you were in the good old days before they were done. Sure. I think, similar to what Chiefs fans have said about we need to, be aware of what we have currently with Mahomes and Reed and Travis Kelce. Current fans should be aware of how special this team is right now and the momentum that they have. And it started with the Longs being willing to invest and build the first purpose-built women's stadium in CPKC, and the continued investment along the riverfront and the practice facilities. And they just formally announced the Kansas City 2 team as the first formal NWSL 2 team. And this is setting a new standard for women's soccer going forward, but it's also not going to last forever with this level of continued success and momentum. So super exciting time to be a soccer fan in general, but especially a Kansas City Current and a women's soccer fan. And I hope people just really take this for what it's worth. I mean, I'm looking at the standings right now, and just the fact that the last 5 matches for the Kansas City Current are just 5 green check marks, 5 wins. Like, this isn't normal. And so take it for what it is and ride this high as long as we can. And there is a really good chance that the Current come home with a trophy at the end of this season.
Yeah, even less questions than last year, because at this point last year we were going with the goalkeeper switch from AD to Almut, and now there's no questions.
Zero questions.
Let's go to our champion of the week, and it cannot be Seth freaking Rollins.
Oh, don't worry.
Probably
Not
should
gonna
be.
Seth. No.
Come see me, Nixie XS, the Versace of violence, the main girl, the height of fashion, on Wrestling Spotlight TV on True TV Plus.
And we're even bringing Nixie XS back to Kansas City. We're sponsoring her match, teaming up with Izzy B for Fountain City Pro Wrestling. The show goes on. That's coming up August 15th. That's the Friday before the current face-off with the Pride. They're going up against Ashlyn Alexander and the shooter, Shy Lynn, part of Fountain City Pro, brought to you by Wrestling Spotlight TV. You can get tickets right now, FountainCityPro.com. The Ball Event Center in Olathe, right by the Garmin Soccer Complex. So, little pro wrestling tie in there. Like I said, we can't pick Seth freaking Rollins.
I wouldn't pick him because I was wearing my CM Punk shirt when I was watching SummerSlam, and I was like, Punk finally got it, and I had this, nagging thought in the back of my mind: what if it was a work? And sure enough, the music hits, the crutches go down, and I was like, oh, broke my heart.
Yeah, I got to give credit to our pro wrestling analyst, former WCW wrestler, Sonny the Man Eagle Cade. He did call it and said, I think it's a work. He's going to come back and cash in, which exactly right. But I guess that's what you learn from being a pro wrestler for 20 years. I've got my CM Punk figure right behind me. So,
best
I was
in the world.
Ready for some clobbering time. Great match. Knocked Gunther out for months with a orbital fracture, but
their chests were bleeding. It was
short-lived.
Yeah.
So back to Kansas City sports. Who's your champion of the week this week?
I'm going to make it Ali Sentnor. I know she hasn't officially stepped foot onto the pitch yet for the Kansas City Current, but the opportunity that she has just been given, going from the literal last place team in the NWSL to the first place team in the NWSL at a position where she has an opportunity to make a real difference, not just this season, but in years to come. The level of talent she has and the position she's just put in, you could not be set up for more success in your career going forward than Ali Sentnor has been just put in. So I'm going to say, Ali Sentnor, you're going to be my champion of the week because your life just turned around for the positive.
Oh, absolutely. And let's hear a little bit from Ali.
I see it in week to week with this team and just watching them on the field, so much energy, dynamic, and I was just so excited to be a part of a team where I can continue to grow, and I think it's going to be great for my career and taking an opportunity and a leap of faith, but I'm very excited.
Yeah, you can tell by the smile on her face.
Oh, yeah. I'm impressed that Flacco had a straight expression because I'm going to go with Flacco, the head coach of the Current, because you could be concerned, oh, man, we're losing a key contributor for a good reason. No, it's great, but losing a key contributor in the stretch run, hey, we need to acquire somebody. Oh, hey, we got a member of the U.S. women's national team, and we didn't have to give up anyone.
No,
I mean, that's
crazy.
like playing fantasy sports. It's crazy. So Flacco's done a tremendous job along with Caitlin building the team, but man, he has to feel good. Well, with that, we'll wrap it up here on Spotlight on Kansas City Sports. An up-close look at the Current and at Sporting Kansas City. Joined here by Jimmy Mack from KC Sports Network, No Other Pod. And Jimmy, what were the topics on No Other Pod this week if people want to get a little bit more in depth?
Yeah, we talked a lot about what the future of Sporting Kansas City looks like. We talked about the new center back signing and what that means, not just for this season, but going forward. We talked a lot about what direction Sporting Kansas City should go philosophically in both in terms of sporting director and coach. And we do preview the San Diego game a little bit. And of course, if you listen to No Other Pod, you're always going to get a little wrestling talk. We had to do a little SummerSlam breakdown, so it was a good time.
Are you ready for Seth freaking Rollins, Big Bronson Reed with the Shubafala, and Braun Breaker taking on what looks like it's going to be CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and L.A. Knight? Yeah.
It's look, man, when you have that much star power all together, it's always exciting. So I'm very. I said this after Roman lost the title. I'm super interested to see where they go now because it's so unpredictable to me. And there's going to be a brand draft coming up at some point in the not too distant future, I would imagine. So there could be more names that swap brands. So who knows? I mean, I've been loving watching the Unreal series on Netflix and seeing some of the creative process. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
So unpredictable. There was even a Tope Suicida by Roman Reigns, which I can't think of the last time he did that.
No, I just need more Mr. Iguana.
Yeah. He'll be coming too. They're going to broadcast AAA's big event coming up on YouTube. Actually, that can be the start of the day. You can watch that on YouTube and then go see the current take out the Pride on the 16th. So all sorts of stuff. Tune into our sister channel, Wrestling Spotlight. Be joined by our friend Sonny the Man Eagle Kane again, and also the David Difference from Future Stars of Wrestling in Las Vegas, and he's on the board of directors for Cauliflower Alley Club Hall of Fame, where Mick Foley is the main guest this year. So all sorts of stuff going on. Jimmy, thanks a lot. We'll see you up at Children's Mercy Park on Saturday. And everybody stay tuned, and more sports and entertainment coming right here on Sports TV Plus. Have a great night. See you.